So, hi, Tim. Good to see you again.
Lovely to see you, Christian and
And
Doris.
Doris in Berlin. And we are, of course, all in different places, in a way far away, and yet at the same table, it seems. Uh, Tim, you will come to Berlin
Yeah,
again in April. And if I remember correctly, it's the 10th of April, starting on a Friday, 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m.
lovely. Is that right, Doris?
Yes, yes, it's right. At the 8th of April.
And then it continues on Saturday. Then it starts in the afternoon, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. And Sunday, again, a bit different, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And
Lovely.
probably in the middle, there will be a break of maybe half an hour or 40 minutes.
Yeah,
And
sounds
that is
lovely.
in Berlin.
Yeah.
And people have to look up the exact place in your website, maybe, or in Doris, what do you say?
At Tim's website, yes.
Yeah,
Where
so
can
if you
people
just
find out
go
where it
to
is? Yeah.
timclissthis.com.
Okay.
I can put it in the introduction.
Yeah, it's similar to last year, in Doris's lovely apartment.
It's a nice area.
Yeah, it's lovely.
And in that time, it's early spring. You can already
Yeah.
relax a bit from the heavy winter this year.
Yeah,
Welcome in this year too. I mean, we have another year now.
yeah.
It seems 2026.
Yeah, it's another number.
Tim, would you like to say something about this meeting?
Well,
Imagine there are maybe people that have never been to any kind of meeting like this, non-duality,
ah,
and they don't know anything about you, but they kind of stumble over this. So what
really? Do you think that does that happen?
it
Do
could
people
could
do
always
that?
happen.
Yeah, you just stumble across it. Um, well, it might be a bit shocking if you just stumbled across it. This is
Yeah.
most people who come to my talks or anything that might be labeled as radical non-duality, which is an odd term in itself. I mean, the radical nature of this is it's not really giving you anything. It's not selling anything. I mean, that is radical, asking people to pay to come for a weekend when I'm offering nothing. So the only hope would be is that you could come away from the weekend with less than you went with. And I don't mean just in your pocket. Hopefully there's less of that, but also there's less of you. You're carrying less of yourself. The human being could, to borrow a phrase from a friend of mine called Paul Hederman, you could come away traveling lighter. There might be a lightness, even if there's slightly less of what I might call the burden of me, the weight of me. Um, so really what I speak about is the illusion of self, the illusion of being the one who's in control of this human being, that there is a driver of this dream bus, when in actual fact there is this seeming dream bus called the human being, but there's no one inside looking out. It's quite an autonomous organism, just a reactive organism, just no different to a tree or a plant in your window will turn its leaves to the light. A human being is no different. A plant doesn't choose to turn to the light. A human being doesn't choose to react the way it reacts. And freedom from this burden of volition, free will, and choice, and the very heavy burden of responsibility for making my life a success can feel immeasurably lighter and easier and freer than life has ever felt to me. That's what I'll be speaking about.
Well, that sounds not so bad.
I've tried to make it sound as good as I could make it sound.
I was thinking about it again when I remember a lot of people that talk about this. They start with something like this feeling of I is as if there's something or some kind of substance inside the chest or in the heart or from where we look out. And that is what we think that's me. And I would say that it doesn't have to be like that necessarily. It might be more that we all use this word I in a certain unconscious or not very conscious way, meaning really not something specific.
No,
The meaning of I is really not clear at all.
no,
Or in any normal context of speaking.
no,
Uh,
no. I agree with you on that. And what we learn to do from a young age when language first, because the sense of I and language, they seem to occur together for human beings around the age of 2.5. When I learn my name, and so I respond to my name, and I call this sense of responding to my name, I call that me, and I call myself I. And then I infer and I collude with all the other human beings that I recognize yourself, and I pretend that I know you, and I pretend that I can see yourself, and you collude with me and say, yes, you know me. And the whole charade, and it is a charade, that the whole thing can collapse. And the most devastating revelation can be that I've never seen you and you've never seen me. In fact, there is nothing to see. Everything about you is only what I have imagined. So you only exist as a figment of my imagination. And there are as many yous as human beings who know you.
yeah, and yet there is a certain sense of I mean, I agree, there is a sense of I.
Yes.
For example, it comes natural, so to say, to see you as a different being.
Yeah.
Then I have direct access, it seems, to what is here, feeling, sensing. I don't have access to what is there from inside. So
No.
there is a difference.
Yeah, there is.
And this you could say is could be used as a proof that
Yes.
there is there must be certain entities that are
Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
that they have memory, they have
Yeah.
their own perspective, and also their own way of looking at things. And all that cannot be necessarily explained,
No.
but also certainly not explained by non-duality talkers.
No. Well, the thing about the physical relative separation of human beings. So I would also be speaking this weekend, over the weekend, about the illusion of separation. Now, the illusion of separation isn't that it will no longer appear that there aren't separate human beings. Separate human beings very clearly and obviously how life appears to be. It's just the fallacy, the illusory nature of the one who is in charge of the human being, who's controlling it and managing it, the self. So I can know of human beings, I can recognize human beings, but that doesn't tell me anything about the self. The self is the illusory. That it's only the self that's illusory. The rest is all relatively real. So the separateness of human beings that's not up for debate. That, for me, that's just philosophical like existentialism. That's not, I'm not interested in that. That's not what I'll be speaking about at all.
Well, if I try to find myself, and you can ask anyone on the street even, where are you? Look inside and show me. Most people will say, yeah, actually, you're right, there is no one. But still, that doesn't change anything really.
No.
What?
And it's interesting if you say where to point to yourself. I used to do this when I was teaching children, as I was always interested in the nature of self. And it's interesting because some would point to behind the eyes, that self, it lives in the head, and others would point to their chest or their solar plexus, and they're in their, others live in their body. And there is quite that. That's an interesting feature, that some human beings feel that they live in their heads. Some selves live in the head and some live in the body.
Yeah, but that might be because behind the eyes, if you look out, you see the world from a certain perspective.
Yeah.
You cannot do otherwise. There's always this certain way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And then there's a kind of a logical conclusion. Aha, that what looks out must be behind the eyes somewhere.
Yeah. Oh,
And
it's totally understandable. In fact, what I would say is this goes against all logic. I mean, we're talking about something that is paradoxical, utterly paradoxical. And I'm really talking about going from the illusion of knowing that I am the seer, the one looking out of the eyes, to there isn't a knowing of not being the seer. So that's the other reason this is hard to sell, because someone will ask me, so you're saying that you're not there, there's no one there, and I go, no, I don't know that. This is not going from a point of knowing to a different point of knowing, because that's all duality. The duality is going, that's what nearly every seeker has done. I don't know what your journey has been like, Christian, but mine was going from one, okay, I know this is the truth, then I go, no, I don't think it is now, I doubt it. So I'm going to go and find what is the truth. Oh, this is the truth, and then, no, I don't think so. And then I just go. So I go from one knowing to another, and all knowing is dualistic.
well, this is, I think, interesting to ask about the spiritual journey, because many people are seemingly on a journey. Of course, I also have been on a long, long journey. And I would say the most important shift is from this idea of consciousness. I am consciousness and I am eternal consciousness beyond the body. That is the freedom that I'm looking for. To really see the point, I'm really consciousness, and that is beyond death. And then to see or hear, first of all, hear, like Tony 25 years ago saying, well, consciousness is an illusion, the I is an illusion, and not just the personal I, but the whole idea of consciousness is an illusion. And
Yeah.
that, I must say, I'm still not 100% in tune with that. I can't, because it seems so evident, so self-evident that there is an experience here. There is experiencing whatever. There's something listening to my own words.
Right.
And what is that? I mean, there must be some kind of a resonance or whatever. I'm not a robot. I'm not a AI.
No.
You see, what makes this human being
Yeah.
different from a machine or from an AI? There's this discussion if AI could create consciousness or something like that, and
Yeah.
what makes then the difference between humans and machines if
Yeah.
there's no consciousness? So that is.
Well, if you're really interested in consciousness, you probably shouldn't come to the weekends of talks. Because one thing I will do is reiterate what I heard Tony say so many times, which both consciousness and awareness are illusions that really exist with self. And I mean, I don't agree with every single word Tony's ever said, but on that, it's very clear to me that it's a vehicle of self, the nature of consciousness. There is nothing and there's no one and nothing to be conscious. There's actually nothing to be conscious of. Consciousness is totally a complete abstraction from the direct experiencing of this. So I would say there's experiencing, but there's no experience there. So
Okay.
in that sense, you could experiencing doesn't mean anything then. It's just what's happening. Because experiencing sounds, they're really almost, the nature of the word experiencing sounds as though there must be an experiencer of that experience. And so if it's not me, well, it's got to be something. So what should we call this something that is aware? Oh, we'll call it awareness. And so awareness is what I am. Or no, we'll call it consciousness. Because consciousness precedes the awareness. From consciousness, then the awareness is an aspect of consciousness. But these are all abstract. These are just abstractions.
Well, I understand that as a non-dualist, non-duality talker, you have to say that there cannot be two. If you are saying there is an experience here and there's something experienced, then there are certainly two.
Yeah.
But experiencing itself
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily mean two, does it?
No, it doesn't necessarily. That's why that's my I sort of allow experiencing as a term, and yet I don't really use it much. I don't really talk in that way. I'd much rather say what appears to be happening or what seems to be happening. Because experiencing just there's got an inference. Whereas what seems to be happening doesn't have any inference of anything else.
Well, can you then say that this, what is called this, is something, a unique, indescribable, incomparable quality
No.
of nothing?
No, I mean I would rather not use any noun at all. So I don't like this either. I don't, there is no this. But I use the word this as the least offensive objective term. Rather than, I mean, I'm just saying what seems to be. You could say what is. I quite like this what is. But what is only what appears to be. And so what is isn't true. This isn't true. And does this have a quality? No, this is all qualities. This is without quality. this is silent, this is empty, this is nothing, no thing. So there isn't a thing called this. There isn't this to be found. There is only this. So this is why this isn't for sale, because there isn't anything outside of this that could find this or have this. So the inclusivity of, I use the word this because it's better than God. It hasn't got the baggage. But if you look at the nature of God, when in most religions, or the nature of Brahman in Hinduism, then I could use that term. But it's so loaded, and I don't see there's anything religious about this. This is natural. This is the nature of being. This is the nature of life. This is completely natural. There's nothing, you don't need to learn anything or to know anything for this to be as it is. And this is all there is.
And that's for no one, as it said.
And of course, because it's for no one, it's for absolutely everyone. Or it's not for you or me.
It's already. And that's why there's no need and no look for something.
And really, I don't know. I mean, not all suffering is in seeking, whatever you've been seeking. But seeking the end of suffering, there's a great deal of suffering in seeking the end of suffering. It's inevitable and innocent, but the end of the seeking, the end of the search, because this is the end. This is the end, always, already. So it's no good, this is the end of worrying about the end, because the end is already come. All the Christians on the street corners saying, the end is nigh, repent now. Well, the wonder, I mean, how wonderful. There's nothing to repent. This is the end, always. So you can repent all you want, but it's already too late.
Can you say something about this, what you just talked about? This is the end, and this fear of death. Can you say something about that?
Yeah, I mean, we are really talking about because this is death, because I'm saying this, because most people imagine that the end is in the future, isn't it? That's most human beings live their life of my end is in the future. I don't know when, but I know it's coming.
Yeah.
And I'm dreadfully afraid. Now, not every self is dreadfully afraid, but most are.
Well, I must confess that I'm also still thinking this way. There's still this idea of, well, I'm getting older, I'm coming closer, the end is coming near, and it's coming up again.
Yeah,
and
so
again.
The really great news, the wonderful news is completely dreadful. So the wonderful news is no, you're not getting closer to death. And why is that? Well, because death is ever present. This is always passing away. The whole illusion of your life is the story of how far you've come to get here and how much further you've got to travel.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, relatively, of course, I could still engage in all the story of that, but the felt sense of it is utterly different. And I mean, it's cliched to say there's a sense of dying before you die, but I mean, it's quite accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, who is self? I mean, the body. Here we are. The body is not afraid of dying. There's death everywhere. It's so obvious that the nature of life is death. It's just self sort of turns his face away from death constantly. And what this does is it's impossible. The death is ever present. So this is always brand new. So although this body is aging, life isn't aging. Life doesn't get older.
Do you mean there is still a kind of a perspective of eternity?
No, this is the death of eternity. There can be no
everlasting life?
there can be no everlasting life. No, there's nothing. No, this is death. So nothing. There isn't anything that lasts any time at all. Now, if you want to call that eternity, you can, but it's a sort of perverse kind of eternity.
Well, I remember there is, I think Master Eckhart said something like the now is ever is eternal or something like that.
Yeah.
This is out of time in a way, yeah? Out of time, not in time.
I would say that. I would say absolutely there's no time. But that's not eternity. Eternity is time that doesn't end.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I mean that's quite different, really.
Yeah, yeah. There's no perspective of what I can do with eternity when I'm
No.
20
Because
years.
eternity for self. Self loves the idea of eternal life because then I can get to do everything I want to do.
Exactly.
That's all. So eternal life is ever hopeful, and what I'm speaking of is the end of hope.
Yeah, okay. And that somehow
and the end of hope, when self hears the end of hope, it can only infer, oh, that sounds dreadfully hopeless. And hopeless is purely negative. But of course, the end of hope is the end of hopelessness too.
Mm-hmm.
There is neither hope nor hopelessness. There is just this. I mean, the whole of what I speak about could be summarized with just this, those two words. That's the whole message.
And if
I could just say two words, but of course I can speak all day about this. I can speak a whole weekend about this, but really all I'm saying is there's nothing other than this. And then we can talk about what this is, and we won't get anywhere because there isn't anything that this isn't.
Mm-hmm.
So everything you say, well, that is this.
Yeah.
Every thought, every feeling, every idea, every imagination, every hope, every dream, every memory, every story, there's no exclusion. And this complete inclusivity is why I will also be speaking about unconditional love, which is the hardest aspect of this message to speak about, but it is undeniable. And a lot of the motivation to speak about this is because it feels so compassionate and loving, as opposed to the fantasy fairy stories that self tells itself. The brutality, I mean, this is brutally real. The brutality of this, the rawness, the directness of this can feel devastating to me because it is a destroyer of dreams. And yet dreams can still appear, but what it will destroy is your ability or the ability to believe in them anymore.
You see, the point is that to me, it always sounds as if there's still something mysterious that is going to happen or not. It's always coming up this idea. I know I see this, of course. There is a seeing that this happens. Well, Tim, you must be in a special state. And how can I get to that?
I know.
because you cannot have but talking about this in the way as if
Yeah.
something is going to happen. But if this is all and there's no next, then there's
No,
nothing that is
there's
going to happen.
no, absolutely. There's nothing that absolutely nothing is going to happen.
Yeah, and yet,
And really, and also, and yet, there is no and yet. No,
mm, mm, yeah,
no, because the and yet is, oh, come on, give me a chance. At least throw me some grain of hope that something will happen. No, nothing is going to happen. That is just what's happening. It's so, it's outrageous that life could be this simple. Life can't be this simple. No, it's not that it can or can't be this simple. It is this simple. This is the total simplicity. It's outrageously obvious, and it includes every and yet, and it includes every but what about, and it includes every what if. All
yeah,
of that is included, but you know, there. I think the nature of self is that this is never enough. This is never quite good enough. Even when it's good, even when life is great, I'm really worried that it's not going to be great in a minute. You know, soon it will end. Soon it will end. You know, I need to hold on to the how do I keep this? So self is either in a state of becoming better or in a state of holding on to what I've already achieved and what I've got. I'm terrified of losing that.
mm,
So the dreadfully wonderful news is that you already have nothing
mm,
because
yeah,
there's no one to actually that
yeah, yeah, mm,
this can't be possessed. And the unconditional love, the unconditional nature of this of life is that it can't be possessed. There is just life. So when I say just this, I could say just life,
mm,
which is
mm,
fully inclusive of death.
mm,
So this great, you could say the ultimate duality for self is life and death. You know, this great
mm,
divide.
mm,
There are two. So life is completely separate from death. Well, wonder of wonders, there's no separation between life and death at all.
mm,
This death is always happening. So when I talk about this is born, this is ever fresh, always new. This is brand new, never before. And this brand new, never before is passing away and dying as it's born. And the whole illusion is this space in between. So here's birth and here's death. And this is where I live. I live in here. And I've got all my story up to now, but I'm terrified of what's the other side of this. And there isn't another side. This doesn't have any sides.
mhm.
This doesn't have any boundaries. There's no borders. There's no edges.
Yeah, there's a resonance. I would ask Doris now if she would like to say or ask something.
Yeah, just maybe this then it's called liberation. So it's the death, liberation.
Well, when the body dies,
No, no, not the body dies, the me dies.
here's the liberation. The liberation is that there's no me to die. You're already illusory. I mean, don't get me wrong. As Christian pointed out earlier, it's very convincing. The conviction in self feels, well, most of my friends, they just think I'm completely crazy. And I mean, they genuinely think I'm yeah, that I've lost the plot. And because to self, it's most selves don't even question their sense of self. It's beyond question, unquestionable. No, it's the only one thing I know is that I am. It's the one thing I'm certain about. And of course, so when this absolute certainty the ground of this certainty starts to crumble, then a lot of people do feel, a lot of human beings do feel very afraid. And I mean, it's very common. And I don't underestimate this because this was my experience as well, that there was great fear, terror even, and despair in this, that I don't know who I am anymore, and I don't feel grounded. I don't feel I'm walking on solid ground, because the solid ground that I walked on was me. This conviction in me. And so in the seeming dissolution, in the seeming liberation, it can be excruciating, but there's no rules about it whatsoever. Lots of people tell me they didn't even notice. Well, I just go, you lucky bastards. How did you get off so lightly? But there aren't any rules. There aren't any rules at all. And absolutely, of course, none of that ever happened.
Yeah.
We are talking about liberation from my story, from my past. So I can still tell you my story, but it's not my story. It's a story. And if I told you my story, then I told you Doris's story, then I told you Christian's story, they're all of equal value.
Mm.
Which is none whatsoever, other than entertainment.
Within this, what you described as there's no space for me, like this,
Yeah.
there is everything is, so to say, happening, possible. Also, the planning of the next tour, because this so-called life is obviously or seemingly happening in succession.
Yeah, yeah,
This comes after that, and then I will go to Berlin, and you have
yeah,
to plan for this, and so
yeah,
this is all included in this spaceless or timeless.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
it is very paradoxical, because self would say, well, of course there's time. You still plan your journey to Berlin. And probably the most amazing thing is planning is easier than it was before, because the only problem with planning is usually anxiety about it.
Hmm.
That's what gets in the way of planning. Isn't that difficult, and it happens very naturally. I mean,
But
we're not the only animals who do planning. I mean,
no,
rats will plan.
yes,
Rats can get out of, you don't need a sense of self to do planning. This is the whole lie of self, is that I'm essential. Without me, then nothing would get done, nothing would happen, and it's completely untrue.
mm. Well, for me, I can see the point uh, quite easy when I watch myself talking. uh, when I see that there's no one doing this, because it is so complex, when you
Yeah.
look at the fact that there's words coming out correctly in the right grammar and everything, and there's no planning of that. You can
No.
plan that. So each moment is new, and there's something happening, and you can really definitely feel there's no one in charge. There's just this is happening. And
And it,
there's
and
a
it,
clue for me. There's
oh
a clue.
no. And the thing is that, but of course, self goes, yeah, but that can't be true.
No, but even normal people, and I've talked about this quite often
Yeah.
to other
Mhm.
people, and you also can, especially with musicians, when
Yes.
they play and they are really into the music,
Yeah.
they know this. They know that there's no one there. They call it maybe different. They say,
Yeah.
I wasn't there. There was maybe
Yeah.
God played, or something played through me and all
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
So the experience is there. It's not
absolutely. Yeah.
so paradox. It's not.
And yeah, and so the only difference is that's how life is. You could say in the story, life is like that all the time, rather than just occasionally when that
Yeah.
sense is
Yes.
experienced. No, that's the natural state. You could say that's how
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, athletes. Me not being a musician, but being an athlete when I was younger. Most athletes talk about being in the zone when they, yeah, they did a great shot, and they said, "Whoa, wow, that was great." And I went, "Yeah, I didn't do that.
Mhm. Mhm. Exactly.
I wasn't there. That wasn't me. I didn't do that."
So this is known all the time. In many reports, you can see this
Yeah,
uh, through all the ages, through all the
yeah,
different
yeah, yeah.
cultures.
And yeah, so yeah, in sport, in music, in art, and just generally working. I mean, I've had people tell me about, I was washing up, I was doing the dishes, and it was really obviously there was just doing the dishes,
Mm. Mhm. Yeah.
almost like the dishes were doing themselves.
Yeah. Mm.
It's the same, and it is how it always is, without the intervention of then. It's always self is always after the event, after. So there's a reaction, and then there's a claiming. There's an action, then there's a claiming.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even the claiming doesn't happen all the time.
No, it doesn't. No, mostly it doesn't need to happen. Self is such a given. This self, I don't know, this illusory program of ownership. It's this sense of ownership and possession. That I
Yeah.
possess life. Yeah. So we're talking about, I mean, the freedom is that everything is free. No one has anything.
Mm.
So wonderfully, everyone is seen as equal. So material possession, spiritual achievement, intellectual achievement, they're all seen as interesting, but of no one's giving credit for them. It's beautiful. It's just like a work of art.
Mhm.
The artist isn't a genius. It's just
Mhm.
a wonderful. There's this beautiful piece of work, and there is there is a sense of love in that.
Yeah.
Without the you don't there's there's a lack of pride, and there's a lack of envy, and there's a lack of, it's not that envy and pride can't appear, but there's no space for them. There's much more appreciation of the wonder.
Mm.
The most mundane things are wonderful. This
Mm.
is this is all miraculous, all of it. There's nothing that's more miraculous than anything else. It's just incredible that there is this.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it's beyond miracle. What on earth is this? I don't know, but it's all there is.
Yeah. And that is the unconditional love, if you want to say
Yes,
that. Yeah.
that is it. That is it. Yeah.
Mm.
It's very, it's very undeniable that there could be nothing.
Yes.
In
Right.
fact, in fact, there is nothing, and nothing is everything. So there is nothing, but it's appearing as everything. It's just, well, I mean,
I know. Yeah.
you just totally lost for words.
The funny thing is, I noticed right now that I want to say I know, uh,
Yeah,
uh,
no, but
because
no,
there
but I
is
think
a
no, and there's nothing wrong with that at all, because everyone does know this. That you can't not know this without any knowledge. You don't need any knowledge of this. You don't
no.
need any understanding to know this. There is a different, but we're talking about knowing in a completely different way,
Yes.
because this is all that can be known. There isn't any, everyone knows this because there is only this.
Yes.
So everything that's known is this.
Yes. Right.
And so that in itself is beautiful.
Yeah.
So when you say you want to say, I know, of course you do know. Everyone knows. That's probably the biggest joke of all. When this, nearly everyone I speak, I know quite a lot of other speakers, and everyone says this.
Mm.
This was nothing was revealed.
Mm.
This is the revelation of what is, and what is all there ever was,
Mm.
is, and will be. So there is no revelation in this at all. So in that sense, it's exactly what you're saying. And of course, it's already known.
We have this word, I don't know if it's in English the same, the aha.
Yeah,
It's a sudden wow. And
yeah,
then, or maybe it's called Satori in
yeah,
Zen.
Satori, yeah,
There's something, wow, it's amazing. You
yeah,
can't, and you can't talk about it really. Uh, yeah, right.
yeah,
Yeah. So, just a practical question.
yeah.
Would you like to say something in the end, so to say, as a resume?
Well, recommendation. Well, Doris is a lovely host. She's got a lovely apartment. It, I I get great joy from doing the meetings. It feels I get asked what motivates me because I'm not giving you anything and I haven't got anything to offer. But what more could there be anything more beautiful than offering everything and nothing? And I can't give you that. It's already the case. So this is, you know, old cliches, finger pointing to the moon. And I can't give you the moon, but I can point at it.
Well, thank you very much, Tim and
Oh,
Doris.
thanks. Always a pleasure talking to you, Christian.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tim
Oh, you're welcome.
and Christian, and I'm happy to see you soon, yeah, at my
Yeah.
place.
And I'll put all the details and on my website, and then yeah, people can buy tickets from there.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks. Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao. Ciao.